Listeners, I'd like you to imagine yourself back into the headspace of 2007, and you are going to the cinema to see a movie with the lads. It's
Mhm.
you and all the lads. Blagaz is there, Tiff, Strudels, Dickskin, Paedo John, Spenlad, and Elliot.
Gibbo, Rice.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah,
Cheeks.
all the real names of people I really hung out with. So we're there. We're going to the cinema, and Dickskin points at a poster on the wall and he says, "How lads pure spits Paedo John." And you look over and you realize that the actor in this poster really is the spitting image of your friend Paedo John. And that actor's name is Ryan Philippe. He looks exactly like your mate Paedo John. And all the lads and you have a lot of fun chatting about this. You're like, how Paedo John didn't tell us you were in a film. You should take your girlfriend to go and see it when she turns 15. So that's how I know about this film, is because me and the lads saw the poster for it, and that's how we ended up watching it, because the main guy in it, Ryan Philippe, looks spits of one of my high school mates, Paedo John, who later became known as homophobic
The
John.
defendant. Ah, okay.
Well, he later became known as homophobic John, and then much later, after I stopped associating with him, became known as John the Rapist. So that's
Would you like to get into some details about the exact nature of your relationship with pedophile John? I remind you that you are under oath.
So no, we
Yeah, so about Paedo John.
yeah, he was called Paedo John because he was dating a year 10.
And now he's a well-known leftist YouTuber, I believe.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Kill James Bond. Why is it that when we're not behind the paywall, we
gotta stop. We gotta stop.
Paedo John was religious, right? He had Christianity in a big way. So I stopped speaking to him around about the time he said that gay people shouldn't get married, and I was like, you know what, Paedo John, we've been in a few foxholes together, but I just don't want to see you anymore, man. And I don't know where he is now. I assume he's not still dating that girl, and if he is, then she must now be over 18 at least.
You gotta hope by that point.
Just about.
Yeah. I am Alice Caldwell-Kelly. Joining me as always are Abigail Thorne and Devon.
Hello.
Hi.
Joining us also are Dickskin, Spenlad, Strudels, Blagaz, Tiff.
All the lads from when you went to the movies in 2007, when you were one of the lads.
That's right.
And you went to see the Ryan Philippe, Chris Cooper movie Breach, which is about the FBI double agent Robert Hanssen. As the movie opens with a press conference explaining his arrest. He was an FBI agent for something like 25 years, and from the 80s onwards was passing secrets to the Soviets and then to the Russians. Nobody knew about this until he was arrested in 2001.
Yeah, he was a real guy.
Yes, yeah.
Real
so
man.
this is based on a true story.
Just up top, I have no fucking idea anything to do with the real guy. Everything I say is going to be strictly about this movie.
I read two separate intelligence journal articles about this in order to do research for this. So Alice Analysis rides again.
Oh no.
Is he alive? So. He is alive, yeah.
He is. Robert Hanssen is currently alive in ADX Florence Supermax prison in solitary confinement for 23 hours a day.
Well, let's listen to a lot of podcasts. Shout out to Robert Hanssen. Rob, come on the pod.
If you're out there. Because when you don't have a death penalty, when you're a civilized justice system, as the federal justice system in the United States is, and you don't do the death penalty, you have to have something to threaten other spies with. And so what they threaten other spies with is, we will just put you in a small concrete box for 23 hours a day and drive you totally insane.
Yeah, we'll just torture you.
We're going to put you in the hole.
Yeah, exactly. And that's,
which isn't good. Probably not good to do that to
that's
people.
That's why this podcast supports the death penalty.
Well,
that's right.
Genuinely,
sometimes you just need to kill a motherfucker.
I would sooner be executed than be in Supermax prison.
Fully.
But yeah, so that's where Robert Hanssen is right now. But we need to see how he got there. So we see Robert Hanssen was played by Chris Cooper, who you may
Yes.
remember from the Bourne movies as...
Those are the targets. Beg, borrow, pack, tap, bypass. I don't care what you do.
He was also in Syriana as the down-home country fried oil executive.
He loves to play like a slightly like dodgy, corrupt guy in a suit.
Here's the thing. I don't know if he does love to play it, because with the best will in the world, and this isn't a knock on his other movies, really, this is the first time I've gotten to see him act.
Oh yeah, he's so good in this.
Like,
he's really good.
He does a bit in like each of those roles, but for this one, it's really like it's a little character study, and he does a fantastic job with it.
He really does. He actually really, really does do a good job. You were right.
Yeah, he really sells Robert Hanssen.
This podcast has made me too soft on actors.
Yeah, it's true. But so we see him at church. He's a devout Catholic. And we already see like the shape this movie is going to take, because he's wearing the classic like DC spy movie fit of suit and tie with the overcoat over it, because it's always winter. And I just know ahead of time this is going to be a lot of people like talking in the dark next to the Lincoln Memorial about democracy.
I was pumped for it.
Yeah, I like this kind of movie.
Want to see the Lincoln Memorial? They're wearing the traditional USian huge suit, which is
the classic big suit that they issue you at Quantico when you graduate from the FBI Academy.
That's right.
So we're in early 2001. This is like just before 9/11.
Yeah, well, we're in 2000 at this point, because there's a shot later on of them taking down the portraits of Clinton and Janet Reno and putting up Bush and John Ashcroft.
That's right.
As we move into, I guess that would be January 2000. But yeah, so we see Robert Hanssen, and we contrast him with Eric O'Neill, also a real person, here played by Paedo John. And there's...
I don't know if we can refer to Ryan Philippe non-stop as Paedo John. I think we need to make sure not to do that.
A lot like Abby's school friend Paedo John.
It's like unbelievable. Like I can see him behind the counter now in the CCF mess. Like,
so Ryan Philippe is a much younger surveillance operative. We see that there's like a different generations of espionage thing going on here, because Robert Hanssen is all sort of Cold Warrior. He was the Soviet guy for a long time. Whereas when we meet Ryan Philippe, he's spying on some Muslims having an argument in the street. But we see that he has two other like young surveillance operatives with him. And two things. First of all, Ryan Philippe has a report about how to make the FBI's computers computer better. And he's shopping this around, but no one wants to hear about it because he's nobody. And the FBI is very conservative. And
even his boys don't want to hear about it, man.
Even his boys.
He gets into a van with two other dudes that look exactly like him.
Dick Skin and Abigail Thorne.
And TV is Abigail Thorne.
It's really weird that they called me that back then. Kind of prescient in a way.
I mean, that to be fair, like in my memories, people call me Devon now, and I know they weren't doing it at the time.
Yeah, for sure.
It's very strange when this happens. But regardless, he's like, "Have you guys read this?" And they're like, "No." And he's like, "Well, you're credited by name." And they're like,
I printed this out in color for you. But we also see the animating impulse of all of these young guys is they want to become an agent. They want to become an FBI agent. Like
they want to be James Bond.
This is like a confected thing, right? Like, to the best of my knowledge, all of these surveillance guys are themselves FBI agents. You kind of have to be. But the movie uses it as like, that's the constant motivation, is everybody wants to make it to be an FBI agent. And we contrast this with a sort of like street espionage with Robert Hanssen leaving his office, and we get a great shot that like, it's a step up from Baby's first themes. It's like Baby's third themes.
Yeah, it's good.
Where he leaves the elevator in the parking garage, and he walks past all of the parking spaces that are like reserved by name for the director and the deputy director, and we see him like walk all the way down to his kind of shitty car. And he just has this little look, and then we get to the opening titles when he slams his car trunk like slightly too hard.
Good.
And you go, oh, okay, this is going to be a movie about jealousy. Good. I like that you haven't just told me that. I like that you've left me to figure that out.
It's really nice. We learn a little bit about Eric as well, Paedo John.
Yeah, Paedo John is in a 24/7 DS relationship with an East German woman.
Yeah. She is old enough, it seems to be, which I know is a stretch for John to play this role with a woman who is old enough to have sex. But he does a great job with it. She's good too.
Yeah, Juliana.
He's a method actor, and it was terrible for him.
Yeah, he practiced for 5 months.
My only note is just everyone's fucking whispering.
Everyone's whispering.
Yeah.
I had to bass boost every drop.
I really did.
But yeah, but like basically the only lines that she has are like, she's like, I don't want to be like an FBI wife, and he kisses her and goes like,
sorry.
Good girl. Okay, fine, not
What?
touching that.
Also, there's a line where he's showing her pictures of the people that he's been spying on, and she says, "Are they terrorists?" And he says, "They're targets." And I was like, "Oh, that's ideology right there."
It's a heavy ideology, and she responds as girlfriends do in movies where they're going to get mad at you halfway through, then forgive you at the end. Which is she responds to everything he says, be like, "Wow, really?
Yeah,
so cool."
But Ryan Philippe gets called into the FBI, who have a special task for him. And this scene produces, I would say, about half of the drops that I have. Because
Two-thirds of mine.
They sit him down. It's this sort of Zero Dark 30 type agent called Kate Burrows. Very blonde, very intense.
Laura Linney, an actress I love to see.
Yeah. And she sits him down. She goes, what do you know about Dennis Hanssen? Dennis Hanssen? Excuse me.
Dennis, it's Robert Hansen's brother, and Robert Hansen voiced it. You mean Rob?
Okay,
Dennis.
fine. Just roast me so much that we can't cut it out.
That's right.
We'll
do 4 callbacks. There's no way to get rid of it.
She sits him down. She asks, what do you know about Robert Hanssen? And immediately, great line.
Wait, I've heard of this guy. Was he the one who hacked into another agent's hard drive?
He's the best computer guy we've got.
He's the best computer guy we've got. But that's not the whole drop. The whole drop is this.
He's the best computer guy we've got. He's also a sexual deviant.
That would also have been a great reply to the email that I received that I can't discuss.
He's not that good a computer guy.
No,
so
it's honestly, it's like there's like a meeting going on about a trans woman that works for them that hasn't come out yet, and they're like,
he's the best computer guy we've got.
He's also
a sexual deviant.
and
yeah,
been posting on the internet.
Yes.
Been posting on the internet.
He's been posting on the internet.
So the vibe is that Hansen is a bit of like a sex pest. He's been harassing junior colleagues. He's also been like apparently posting on the internet. We don't know what, but it's horny. He's horny online. Yeah. He's horny on
Here at the FBI, we take a profound anti-horny stance, and we also #believe women. Therefore, Ryan Philippe, because you're on your fucking FBI apprenticeship, because you want your like FBI SVQ or your city and guilds or whatever, if you do this for us, if you go undercover as his new assistant and spy on Robert Hanssen, we will make you a real boy. We will make you a real FBI agent.
So they're like, this is depicted as not being a particularly glamorous assignment. Like Ryan Philippe's like, what, really? I just have to like take notes if this guy like jacks off in his office, like that's it. And they're like, yeah, basically, fine.
You are basically like the FBI's HR department on this. So he goes to FBI headquarters where Robert Hanssen has been reassigned. And already we get some cool vibes because this is the puzzle palace, right? Lots of very identical white hallways. And we get to office 9930.
The entire movie is graded so fucking cold. Like there's not a single scene in this movie that doesn't have a heavy blue on it, which it does convey an effect, but it also gets really grating on the eyes after a while.
It's very blue and grey.
The office is like windowless, it's soulless, it's very small. It's really good.
The lack of windows comes up a couple of times.
Yeah. The other cool thing about the office is that we see all of the security involved. He has to like punch in a code, and the sound of that code being entered will be a recurring sort of source of tension. Open it with a key, and then when he gets in, the door like seals a bit too much behind him.
Yeah,
like it closes a bit too intensely. And we get this sort of nice, like, half-second shot of him looking over his shoulder like, oh, shit, that's properly, like, soundproofed. And then we follow this up with an even better shot, which is that his new office chair squeaks. I really like this. As a little depiction of, like, organizational priorities, it tells you very, very sparsely just two little shots. Okay, this is an organization that cares a lot about secrecy, and a lot about security, and not very much about comfort.
That's right. That's right.
Perfect.
And then he meets Dennis, who comes in.
This is such a perfect first interaction.
Good, yeah. Like he's really shifty, doesn't make eye contact. Like he's making some really, really strong choices in this scene. Chris Cooper, I really love it.
There's a thing that I wondered was purposeful or not, and I later figured out that it was, and that's that every time that Robert Hanssen is talking, he has he's jingling his keys in his pocket. It's like a nervous habit. It's behind all of his dialogue. He's just kind of quietly jingling his keys. And I really like that as an expression of I don't know, control and power, but also insecurity and nervousness. But he sort of is very avoidant. He walks into a room and says things. It's sort of, there's a little bit to it of how Hollywood thinks an autistic person acts. And I'm curious to what extent that was I would be very interested to find out, because I couldn't, in the course of researching this, whether that was something that Chris Cooper or the director was trying to do, or whether that's just how it came out, trying to mimic Hanssen's sort of mannerisms. But it's very sort of alienating. And we
the first interaction between these two is really good, because Hanssen walks into the room and Eric's like, "Hi, good morning," and he goes, "Tell me 5 things about you, and 4 of them are true," and then is completely silent while Eric's like, "What?"
My girlfriend is over 16. He's like, "This is wrong."
And Eric's like, "Look, I'm not that good at bluffing." And Hanssen leaves, but as he's leaving the room, he looks over his shoulder and goes, "That would have counted as your lie."
Yeah,
so we get a couple of things there.
We see that Hanssen is very, very paranoid. He's also very devout Catholic. He's got a big crucifix up in his office. And he explains the culture of the FBI to Ryan Philippe in a way that is very, very cogent, actually. I just pulled a lot of it as a drop.
The FBI is a gun culture. You can't advance here unless you're part of it. Every director in the history of the Bureau has come from the law enforcement side. Guys who shoot, guys who make arrests. There's never been a director from the intel side. Never will be.
And the whole time they're walking down the hallway.
Yes.
There are walls of portraits for distinguished service, meritorious service, the guys who get the corner offices. And there's a SCIF, a secure compartmented information facility, which Hanssen says is where they're looking for a mole inside the CIA or the FBI, and they don't know where to look because they're all stupid. And he does this. There's this great sort of building sense of a career's worth of slights and resentments just built up over decades.
Very much like a leftist YouTuber, actually.
He's also, the entire time he's walking with Eric and waxing poetic about why he won't ever get a promotion. He is constantly running Eric into objects.
Yes.
Eric's trying to follow along next to him, and he just keeps getting he walks slightly too close to a wall, and Eric has to drop behind him for a bit, and
this happens a couple of times.
It paints a really good picture of someone who just doesn't really care about the person they're talking to. He's using it as a sounding board.
He's kind of an incel, an intelligence department celibate.
Yes.
Because he's like, "Oh, these goddamn Giga Chads and Stacys are always getting corner offices, and I'm always being overlooked, and but I'm gonna shake things up around here, and they're gonna know who it really is." He also he encourages Eric to just take a new computer. He's like, "Oh, my computer's really shit," and he encourages him to kind of not be insubordinate, but to kind of go around his superiors.
Through bureaucracy, yes. Yeah.
But mainly just it's to listen to him and to prioritize what he wants.
Yeah.
It's
Eric great also, asset building in that way. It's
Eric also has the fun line, because we see that Hanssen is trying to get internet into his office, and Eric just says, I thought you were gonna have it.
Well, I have one, but I'm not sure if it's the one that you want. What he does is because he's standing on his desk trying to get internet, but slightly before that, when he's asking him about the internet, Eric asks him
So what kind of sites do you like on the internet? Are there sites you like to
you a Redditor, sir?
What kind
Do you
of
have
sites do you
that's
like?
the one, yeah.
Do you have
Yeah.
stairs in your house?
Mm.
But so, I mean, he's right about the FBI. Like, this line about there never having been an FBI director from the intelligence side, that's still true. 20 years later. But we also are about to run headfirst into the other aspect of Robert Hanssen's personality, because this is a man who is just uncontrollably horny.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, absolutely.
He and Ryan Philippe enter a lift, an elevator, in which there is an attractive woman, and there's this sort of moment where he gets about 10 times more awkward. And knowing that he's a sexual deviant, after she gets out, Ryan Philippe tries to like work him on it a little bit. He goes like, "Oh, she was hot, huh?" And he just gets what he gets back is,
I disapprove of women in pantsuits.
it's great. Whenever he's uncomfortable, he gets more prudish and more Catholic.
It's really
More
good.
Catholic, yeah.
The walls kind of like come down a little bit.
And Eric's like, "Oh, she was really hot. A little bit old for me, though." But we also Hanssen like hates internal politics. He hates bureaucracy. He hates the CIA clowns.
Yes.
And he's also he's really fucking Catholic, because he says, "Oh, the reason we beat the Soviets is like they were cleverer than us, but they failed because they were atheists. And like you should get more Catholic, go to church more."
The specific start about the Soviet line is at one point Eric leaves the office, and stood outside by his car is Hanssen, who goes, "Do you know why the Russian Empire collapsed?" To which Eric goes, "Good morning." Which I really enjoy.
Yeah, it's really fun.
Yeah.
He doesn't like gay marriage. He doesn't like, well, anything really.
Yes,
Yeah,
You
very,
get
very
this like sense of resentment later on when they're in church, and he goes,
I saw a woman from Planned Parenthood on television this morning. A lesbian, naturally, defending gay marriage. I almost ripped the cable out of the wall.
the delivery there too, it's like it's great. But so we see that his project, what he's been reassigned to do to head this new division, what he's been promoted to do, is to totally recondition how the FBI's IT systems work, because they're years behind everyone else, because they won't cooperate with anyone. They're insular, they do internal politics, they won't listen to anything that he wants to do, which incidentally is he's a Linux guy. He wants them to put on like Red Hat servers and stuff. But this takes on this whole new dimension when you realize that he is talking about the FBI and the culture of the FBI the year before 9/11.
Yeah, that is an interesting.
That he's saying like this works so poorly. Every other intelligence agency is so far ahead of us that FBI agents still use cardboard boxes to store case notes. And you kind of get the sense, wait a second, he has a point here.
Yeah. It's interesting that they don't portray him in the film as like a massive evil traitor, that they do. I wouldn't say he's sympathetically portrayed, but he's humanized, certainly.
Yes.
But he invites Paedo John to come to church with him. He's like, bring your wife, like we'll make your wife more Catholic as well. Like come to church and then come to my house for a big Catholic
we're gonna talk about the wife.
At this point I wrote down I have a big trad things counter that I've sort of like incremented here. One is that he gets to the church and he genuflects and Ryan Philippe forgets to, so trad count number 1. Trad count number 2 is he takes him to a Latin mass. Trad count number 3 is his wife is wearing a mantilla the whole time. She's like, actually we find out that she's the one who got him into Catholicism. He was Lutheran, and he really became like the sort of the trad Catholic equivalent of born again. He joined Opus Dei because of her. And it's great because you get this scene of like Juliana being incredibly freaked out by all of this trad shit.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Because of course she doesn't know that like her boyfriend is her husband indeed is investigating this guy. She thinks this is just like her husband's new boss, and she's like, why is his wife trying to like seriously convert me to Catholicism? I don't really give a shit.
There's a number of things regarding Juliana. All of them happen without her on screen. But when they're talking about the 5 things, right? He eventually does go back and give Hanssen his 5 things, and he lists them off. Doesn't really matter what they are, but the one that was a lie, which is in the middle, is that his favorite drink is
vodka tonic.
Vodka tonic. He says that his wife is an East German lapsed Protestant, and Hanssen responds like he is just sworn directly in his face. Like he just goes gravely silent.
Yes.
It's so good.
The whole time, by the way, Ryan Philippe is getting badgered by his handler, Agent Burroughs, who is, frankly, a terrible handler.
Absolutely.
Basically, what she does is she pages him urgently on a pager which inevitably goes off and annoys the shit out of Hanssen at the worst possible moment to go, where are my pages of reports? I need my pages of reports. Why aren't you writing them now? Where are they? And she just kind of like alienates him at the whole time that that Ryan Philippe comes to respect and admire Robert Hanssen more and more as he starts to think.
He starts to think that he's misunderstood. He snoops on his personal computer, like obviously expecting to find horny shit, and it's just full of Catholic stuff. He's just like, this guy's just really Catholic, and like,
and then he does him a favor, right? Which is, he had mentioned his mom had Parkinson's, and Robert Hanssen prints him out the fucking Wikipedia article for Parkinson's because that was a serious imposition back in the days of 2000. And it's like, hey, I did some research for you on the internet. Maybe you can, maybe there's some stuff there that you didn't know about. And he's genuinely touched by it.
It like really affects Eric. Eric is to the point where he immediately like calls his handler and is like, what the fuck are we doing here? This is just a normal ass guy.
One thing about the sort of House of Lies here that I really like is if you did a rewatch of this, one thing you might notice is that when they're having this conversation, they are standing on top of an empty floorboard in which Hanssen has been storing cash that he has been sent by the Russians, selling them secrets.
Yeah, because Eric goes back to his handler, Laura Linney, and he's like, look, like, what the fuck am I doing? This case is bullshit. Like, he's a bit weird and a bit awkward, but like, fundamentally, he's just a normal dude. Why the fuck am I spying on him? Like, okay, he jacked off to some porn one time in the office. Okay, like, big deal, whatever.
Yeah.
And Laura Linney turns around and he's like, he's a massive fucking traitor.
Yeah, I'm gonna like drop the veil here. Again, this is like terrible handling because this is the thing, right? I feel like this speaks to a lack of confidence that the movie has in itself. In that, I would have put this later for pacing.
Way later. It happens before the halfway point.
Yeah, because I think this movie has a thing where it wants to depict the FBI as being a cold, resentful place and this nest of jealousy. And it wants to do that, and it wants to reinforce that by making Laura Linney be quite cool towards Ryan Philippe by having her be like, oh, you don't need to know that yet, until she has to. I think a more confident movie would have allowed her to like try some more false charm and would have allowed us to get the experience of sort of Ryan Philippe being the man in the middle who is being worked on both sides by two people who are trying to manipulate him. I would have appreciated that, but instead he just goes into this conversation, goes, you're trying to manipulate me. And she goes, yeah, all right, fucking, I'll tell you everything. It was a secret kill squad.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's fully like that. She just gives up immediately.
This is the thing that they teach you in like US intelligence services is the second you are confronted in a lie, admit everything, even stuff that wasn't even on the table. And so she goes, oh, the jerking off stuff is also true. But I'm going to take you into the secret Get Robert Hanssen office, which has big pictures of him up on the walls, as if they're going to forget what he looks like.
Yeah.
50 dudes working in the fucking head of the department. Like,
this is an understatement, by the way. I checked on this. Her line is, he asks her, how many agents do you have detailed on this? And she says 50. There were 300 agents following Robert Hanssen. It was...
Guy like me, if I was selling secrets to the KGB, that's us, the KGB. Fuck it, sell your secrets to KGB.
Yeah,
why not?
Fucking sell us your documents.
Robert, come on the pod.
We can pay you in Patreon money.
Give us that 1 hour you're not in fucking solitary. Just swing through the phone. It's about the length of an episode. Just come on, it'll be good.
A phone interview with, and he's here tonight, Robert Hanssen.
Robert fucking Hanssen. What was I saying? Help me out. I don't fucking know either.
You were talking about selling secrets to the KGB.
Yeah, guy like me, you could get like 3 people looking into that, and they would get me in like 2 days.
Yeah,
300 is so fucking impressive to evade for 10 years.
Here's the thing: because he was one of their most trusted guys, because he was their
He's the best computer guy we've got.
Well, they had a previous leak, a guy called Aldrich Ames. He was a CIA analyst, I believe.
CIA clown.
He was a CIA clown, yes.
He was a CIA
clown,
yeah.
In order to find that leak, they put their...
He's the best computer guy we've got.
...on it. And so the guy hunting for Ames was Robert Hanssen. He was their guy trying to catch the Soviet and then Russian mole.
But also, they had him hunting himself at one point because he was put in charge of the task force to find him, which was extremely funny.
God, I would have such a good time setting up the task force to find me.
we find out that the reason why he's sort of like so big of a traitor is because the movie doesn't actually say this, but for a time in FBI counterintelligence, he was in charge of the section that handled Soviet and Russian agents in the US who wanted to defect or who wanted to give information. So if you were a KGB agent who was stationed in Washington, D.C., and you were disaffected with the Soviet Union, you wanted to give information to the Americans.
Yeah, if you're a coward.
Yeah, if you're a traitor, your case would go to Robert Hanssen and you would be killed because he would betray you. Mm-hmm. And so we see that he has killed between 3 and 50 guys like this, more or less personally, as close as you can personally.
Pretty much,
yeah. He's like written to the Russians and said, hey, this person's actually a mole for us, and the Russians have then killed him.
Yes.
And also his whole office, his entire office is like wired to the gills with microphones. They built it.
I really like this.
So cool.
I really, really like this because she just goes offhandedly. Oh yeah, 9903. We built that for him, and it cuts to them building it out from the walls. And because it's in like sort of the studs of drywall, it looks like a cage. It looks like a trap. It's perfect, and everything in there is wired.
And the reason that he's been allowed to kind of get away with doing this for so long is they want to catch him red-handed.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
This is like the biggest intelligence leak ever. They want to catch him in the act of making a drop to the Russians, which, as Paedo John points out, will mean that he will be executed.
Yes. Yeah, they want to be able to give him the death penalty
which
in order to... but they want to use it specifically to get to force his cooperation. They think he will be able to like name names if they are able to kill him if he doesn't.
Yes.
So
yeah, they were listing off this guy's shit. They're like, okay, this guy is spied for the Russians. He likes rough sex and enjoys strippers. And I was like, this guy seems based. What are we doing here?
It's cool.
That's me.
Yeah.
he was
much 300 guys trying to nail me.
he was much weirder sexually than the movie gives it credit for. His best friend was a US Army colonel. He set up a CCTV system with a camera in his bedroom so that from the bathroom, this guy could watch Hanssen fuck his wife.
Yes, I'm seeing this.
Did the wife know about this?
I don't believe so.
Oh, that's bad.
Yeah, he also gave a ton of money and a Mercedes to a stripper and then claimed that he was trying to convert her to Catholicism. He was a weird dude.
Hell yeah,
did
man.
It work?
But so we also incidentally get to add another counter to the guy you love to see in a movie alert, which is Dennis Haysbert. I love Dennis Haysbert. President in the first season of 24. Watched 2 whole series of a borderline sitcom about Delta Force called The Unit because he was in it. Really good. Love the guy. And he's like on the squad that's gonna fucking track him. So
then we get a really, really nice moment because Eric, his like head is spinning from all this information. Just finding out that his boss is a massive traitor. Now he's got to like get ready to go into work tomorrow and like lie to him and everything. Goes home and Hanssen is in his house.
In his fucking home. Yeah. And he just has to like build this den of lies to everyone in the room. Like he's lying to his wife about separate things. He lies to Hanssen. He lies to Hanssen's wife, who is also fucking there. It's really, really good.
Yeah, and they are in full Tradcath psycho mode. And there's this great bit where they like they sort of make them say grace around the table, and you get the sexual threat of Hanssen like holding out his hand to Juliana, and it's like,
yeah. And then they have an argument after the Hansens have left, and he's like, I can't tell you anything. Like, shut the fuck up.
Yep. Counterintelligence work. You got to gaslight your wife.
There's so much here about masculinity, right? Because all he needs to do is reassure his wife, and he can't do it. Like, he doesn't even need to be like, okay, this is why this is happening. He just needs to be like, listen, you are American enough for me. You know, I do love you.
Mm-hmm.
This is happening. Don't worry about it. This is just happening. It's gonna be over at some point. But he can't do it. He just leaves.
No. He very nearly joins the 41%, but instead just shouts at his wife, leaves, and goes to see his dad.
Who is America.
Yes, another very pivotal conversation about masculinity and patriotism. Because one of the things that we said before that we know is true is he is the first man in 4 generations of his family not to have served in the military. So his dad has, his grandfather has, and he's sick of this shit. He wants to quit. And his dad explicitly equates being an FBI agent to being in the military. You're serving your country. Quitting is unthinkable. It would be like desertion. And what you have to do is you have to get on the boat, do your job, and come back home again. Because that's what I did, and that's what my dad did during the war.
This is the most like you are definitely still part of the troops that we've had since the Hunt for Red October.
Absolutely.
Like, he's like basically troops.
Yeah, and that's what patriotism is you do the hard thing, and you don't think too much about it. You don't overcomplicate it. Even when you're scared, you just do your job, and you don't think too much about what your job might be. And that's what serving your country is, and you have to do it.
Serving your country is don't think about it.
Yeah, check it. No analysis here, but the guy who plays his dad, Bruce Davidson, you will recognize as the senator in X-Men who gets turned
Senator
into
Kelly.
goo.
Yeah,
that's his. That's where you'll know him from.
He's America.
He just plays America. He doesn't really. He's one scene, knocks out the park, does exactly what he needs to do.
That's true.
Leaves.
So at this point, we have to see that there's 2 things that the FBI wants Ryan Philippe to do. Number 1, they want him to get and copy the contents of Hanssen's Palm Pilot.
Yes.
And number 2, they want to keep him out of the office for a few hours while they extremely search his car. And by search his car, I mean disassemble his car. No. And so in order to get him out of the office room for enough time to copy over the Palm Pilot, what he does is they arrange his portrait to be taken to go on the wall for his 25 years of service. And unfortunately, the guy that they get to do it is noticeably gay.
He's
not even that noticeable. He's just like kind of ambiguously gay.
He's like slightly effeminate, and that is enough to fucking activate the tradcath lobe. And so, because he hates being scrutinized, a thing which they undercut by later having him say, "I hate being scrutinized."
He just says it out loud.
And because he's homophobic, he's sitting there getting more and more and more uncomfortable. They have to put makeup on him, and he hates that. He has to like think about how he's sitting and looking. It's great. It's like watching someone fucking piloting a human-shaped mech suit, you know, and just realizing that for the first time. But so he gets out early and is about to come back and intercept Ryan Philippe. And one of the other FBI guys has to like offer to take him to the shooting range to reimpose that like gun club thing from earlier. And it's great because we see that Robert Hanssen he's a very good shot. He's also he's doing man out of time shit. He's got this big wide like isosceles stance. His like legs are way apart. He's got a fucking revolver. He's got like a snub-nosed 38. And so he's just kind of like
It's so good. It's really good. Like every aspect of it is such like a great fucking character decision that they've gone for. It really tells you everything you need to know about him without saying it. But occasionally they do laps and have him just say it. But most of the time they're really good.
Yeah, that's the weakest part of this movie, I feel, is when it doesn't trust itself enough. It'll do something reasonably deftly, and then it'll go back and say it again for the people in the audience who might not have got it.
Yeah.
But
Eric manages to download the contents of Hanssen's Palm Pilot. He finds that he's just got like thousands of hours of the Kill James Bond podcast, and also he's been sending a bunch of like weird, creepy DMs to early transition trans girls on Twitter, which is very odd. But he almost gets caught, and then he covers it by he's in Hanssen's office when Hanssen comes back. And he pretends to be praying, which is
I really like that. It's like brazening it out. But I also liked the kind of, because what he does is he switches it back, and then he like starts to doubt himself. Hanssen's briefcase has like 4 sort of like pretty identical pockets, and he gets this kind of like undercover neurosis where he like goes back and puts it in a different one, and then puts it in a different one in case that was wrong. And it's I really like that actually. But
it comes back to an earlier scene where there was a shot of Hanssen putting his Palm Pilot in the pocket, like a very specific one that's really highlighted in the movie earlier.
Yeah. But so he gets him out of the office so that they can disassemble his car. He like gives him a lift in Ryan Philippe's car.
Yeah, they just go on a little like a little spy gay date. It's cool. They just go around places for a bit. The entire time they're taking this car to fucking pieces.
Well, they're supposed to go and meet the CIA clowns.
Yeah, the DIA clowns, the Defense Intelligence Agency clowns. But
it's too many fucking agencies.
Yeah, tell me about it. But when the DIA IT guy,
the one that we work for again,
I keep getting my handlers mixed up. Is the problem?
Never mind. Cut that
out. So the DIA guy gets like a double booking. And because he's paranoid and because he's only able to interpret stuff within the lens of FBI internal politics, Hanssen is like, fuck you, me and my twink are leaving this instant. Don't ever talk to me again.
Yeah, for real.
This is clearly a power play. And they argue in the car. But the whole time you get this like tense bit where like Hanssen is trying to get back earlier while they're disassembling his car.
Yeah, you get a phenomenal bit where like they get the message from the guys that are trailing them that like he's leaving, he's coming back now. We give it like 20 minutes before he gets back home, and like this car is lying completely like factory disassembled, and the line that is said is like, all right, zip it up. She's like, what?
What are the wheels back on?
Just put it back together now, real fast. Just fucking.
We also see that Hanssen's boot of his car is absolutely full of guns.
Packed to the fucking
sick,
brim.
Nasty gun collection. And
again, it's based. I don't.
One sort of wonders if this could have been if he could have been a workplace shooter. It's like, but anyway,
the film muses on it for a bit, but doesn't really have an answer.
Yeah, it doesn't. But that's fine. I don't really need it to. So Ryan Philippe gets them stuck in traffic, and Hanssen just tries to walk back. And in order to get him back in the car, Ryan Philippe has to lie to him. He has to tell him, actually, I was taking you this way and got us stuck in traffic because I was trying to take us to the church because I was trying to make Juliana be more Catholic. And what follows is a Catholic version of you have to tell me if you're a cop legally.
Yeah, it really is.
Because Hanssen goes
if you're in the Inquisition, you got to tell me.
Yeah, and Hanssen goes, say wallahi, say I swear to God.
Say it, motherfucker. And he goes, no, I'm not going to say that.
And it could have, because it's like doing the cop has to say they're an undercover cop, so they say yes sarcastically, kind of thing.
Yeah, 100%.
Where he goes, I'm not going to say that because you're an asshole and you've never trusted me. And, why don't I get to ever confront you about shit? And you're so fucking weird. Which I like.
I'm definitely Catholic. He does the Eddie Izzard bit where he's like, I believe in the teachings of Cathol and everything that he stood for.
So on the one hand, I like this, but on the other, like, I'm annoyed that he doesn't have to, like, disavow, he doesn't have to like incriminate himself in that way, because like this could have been an interesting thing and it would have picked up a theme that we get to later if part of the cost of catching Robert Hanssen is you have to fucking lie using your religion. And that's
Yes.
something that it just costs to do that. But instead, Robert Hanssen gives him this envelope to mail, and like an idiot, he immediately goes home, opens it, steams it open, and finds it's a VHS tape, and just pops it in the VCR.
Yeah, this is a baffling thing. I have no idea why he would do that. I don't know if he did this in real life. I don't know if this was a movie invention, but it's such a fucking baffling thing to do.
Yeah, very odd.
And the VHS tape is, of course, Robert Hanssen having sex with his wife for the consumption of one of Robert Hanssen's weird friends. And then our FBI counterintelligence operative...
This is so fucking contrived.
...immediately gets outplayed by his wife.
Yeah.
This whole scene is shit.
Yes.
It's really, really bad. He like fucking does this completely out of character. He opens it up, he puts it in the fucking tape player. It's Hanssen having sex with his wife.
Chain of evidence.
And immediately his wife comes in through the door and is like, "What are you watching?" And he goes, "Nothing." And then she's like, "Yeah, could you go and get the rest of my fucking like shopping from the car?" And he goes, "Yes, ma'am." Leaves and walks back in, and she's obviously watching the fucking tape.
Moron.
And then she's like, "What are you doing, man?" And he goes, "I can't tell you." And leaves. And it's like, this whole scene was shit. This was
yeah.
Just tell your wife. Just be like,
just
look,
be
I can't tell
nice.
You what it is. It's work. Like
again,
lie by omission.
I
like
get
we
it.
all do.
I get it if like you had gone a little bit stronger earlier on the theme of this will also cost you your faith. If it had gone to this will cost you your marriage. But instead, what he does is he just goes to Kate Burrows' handler's apartment and goes, "Hey, is being an FBI agent like being a kind of samurai?"
She's like, America.
Do we have to follow the like feudal code of Bushido? Is it worth it? And she kind of like looks around at her totally empty apartment. She's like, I don't know. It's probably fine for most people. It's not for me.
She makes a joke, but she's like, "I don't even have a cat."
There's a great bit that she has. There's one thing about Kate that I like, which is earlier on when she's showing him the like Hanssen Operations Center. She goes, I don't mind that he fooled us. What annoys me is that like I came to work every day and he was just undoing everything I did, and I might as well have just stayed home. And I really like
that was good.
But yes, so they're closing in on Hanssen now.
But he sends a letter to his Russian handlers saying, "It's been real, lads, but so long, and I'm not going to do it anymore. I'm not going to give you any more information." So they can't catch him red-handed if he doesn't fucking do it.
It's
like, I think the FBI are onto me. So long, and thanks for all the fish.
Yeah, what tips them off is that the car that they have now filled with fucking tracking devices keeps interfering with his radio. And this is the world's most paranoid man. So just like suddenly his car is making weird noises and he's like, "Yeah, fuck this, man."
Yeah, I am immediately blown. There are two things to point out here in terms of historical accuracy. One is that as far as I know, the FBI tried really hard. They could not reproduce any of the sounds that he claimed to be hearing. So there is a decent chance that this was some like fucking extrasensory narrative perception that he had developed, where he just kind of like knew beyond knowing that he was being spied on. The other thing is that in this letter to the SVR or the FSB, one of the things that Robert Hanssen did in real life,
the KJB,
was to recommend that they cultivate Eric O'Neill as an agent. He just fucking puts Ryan Philippe in the thing like, "Oh, you should get this guy. He's good. He could be the next me."
That's very funny.
But so he
you
realizes
blackmail him. He's using the age of his girlfriend.
This guy seems real cool and normal. You should definitely hire him.
Yeah, but Eric says, because Eric's talking to his handlers, and they're like, "Look, if we don't get him to make the drop, then all we've got is the contents of his Palm Pilot." And he's going to turn around and say, "Oh, that's just notes for a spy novel that I'm writing. It's all made up."
Yeah.
Is it a crime to dump cryptic letters in a park where they could be read by anybody? No. So they're like,
mishandling of classified information is 5 years. They say.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
so Eric says, "I think I can persuade him to make the drop. I think he wants to do it. I think he wants to rub your faces in how clever he is, and I think he wants to be caught." Then Hanssen just turns up outside his flat drunk, which is quite funny.
It's
Yes.
really good. Like, he acts drunk so well. He he gets in the car with him and you just see that like his eyes are totally red and he just kind of goes, "Can I trust you?" in a tone that we haven't heard him use before. It's really this moment of like vulnerability and mistrust. But you do get the sense that there's this ego that's driving him. There's this bit, there's been that we skipped over a bit, but he when he's talking about the portrait that he's gonna get put up on the wall, he says, "That's fine. That'll be my memorial. I'll know what I did. Even if no one else remembers me, I'll know what I did." And that reminded me a little bit. That kind of like my memorial here is, I know I was fucking all of you over, and my picture is on the wall, sort of like lauded. It reminded me a bit of like the espionage version of Jimmy Savile's tombstone. You know, where he thought he had gotten away with it, and he had arranged this tombstone for himself that was like beloved by all and shit. Just as like, it's like a last joke at your expense, right? To be like, "Oh yeah, actually, I was great, wasn't I?"
Just a final fuck you as you're going out the door.
Yeah,
I don't know what it says on Jimmy Savile's tombstone. I wasn't looking when I was pissing on it, but
when you were there with that hammer.
So they drive into the park and Hanssen just like starts randomly firing a gun into the park. He's like, "Can I trust you? I don't know if I can trust you or not. Like, what the fuck's going on?"
This is what it means to be an FBI agent, which again, the agent thing is really confected.
Yeah.
And Eric calls him out. He's like, "You're a shithead. You're paranoid. Nobody's tailing you. Nobody's watching you.
Dear God. Quite insane."
He's like, "Why would they? You don't fucking matter." Like,
yeah, he's like,
"Yeah, okay,
you're
you
not
did
that
some
important.
shit 20 years ago, but you're not that important. Like, no one gives a shit." And then
that's what gets him.
Yeah, he has this great line which goes, "I matter plenty," which is so lovely.
And that was his final line before he leaves the fucking park. And immediately thereafter, fucking Eric goes home and he calls his hand and goes, he's going to make a drop.
Yeah,
100% he's going to do it.
So there's this thing that you may be aware of in motivations for human intelligence assets for spies. It's kind of out of fashion now. It's been replaced by something called rascals by and large. But it used to be this acronym called MICE, right? The four things.
Mice.
The four things that motivated a spy: money, ideology, coercion, or ego. You were being paid to do something.
That's better than Scum, actually.
You were being paid to do something. You believed it was the right thing to do something. You were being blackmailed to do something, or you wanted to do it for the excitement. You wanted to do it for you. And this movie makes explicit that the sort of the sin going on here, the thing that motivates Robert Hanssen to do what he does, is ego. It contrasts him with Aldrich Ames, who is a money guy. He was paid, some number of millions by the Russian intelligence services. And Robert Hanssen, he does it because he wants to. He does it because it takes it out on people who think themselves better than him. It humiliates his enemies, and it humiliates an organization that he never fit into.
What does Rascals stand for then? What's the new one?
It's sort of the opposite end of the same thing. It's stuff that you as a handler are meant to offer to an agent. So reciprocation, authority, scarcity, consistency, liking, and social proof. Doesn't really come up in this. But
off the fucking dome. Off the dome.
Listen.
Alice.
That's what you gave us when we started this podcast.
That's right.
That's right. I'm trying to think which one I was.
Well, I'm trying to do all of them all the time.
And that's what we're giving you, the listener.
That's right.
Because we are training you to join us in working for the intelligence services.
That's true.
That's right. That's right.
So
we skipped over a number of things. One thing we skipped over is a drop that I actually do have a point I'd like to make about, but I don't know if we should. So there's a point where, and this reminded, it's not a great point. It's very funny to me though.
Make the fucking point.
Fuck you. Earlier on, when Eric is like reading everything that Hanssen has said about like the United States and all of his dealings and that, there is one line in particular which, this is a slur. To be clear, this is the R slur.
Oh, the forbidden drop. Yes, I'm
going to use the forbidden drop. Yeah, he reads this line.
The U.S. can be errantly likened to a powerfully built but retarded child.
Which is a real Hanssen quote. But while that audio is being played, the shot is of Eric reading, and as the word is said, he shakes his head.
just so you know he doesn't agree with it.
Which I found to be so fucking funny.
Well, this was a real thing, is that like Robert Hanssen, when he like sent information to the KGB or to the SVR, he would include, along with the classified documents, a shitload of like unwanted personal essays about how he thought they should be doing shit.
Oh, he just like me for real.
He would just sort of post. And
he was a reply guy to the United States.
He was an early poster. Like
there was a bit where he there was one letter to them where he said that they should adopt the management styles of Mayor Daley of Chicago. Just baffling series of things to say. One of the ways that they identified him was they had purchased this dossier, one of his posts that he had been sent, and they pulled his fingerprints off of it, but they also pulled a voice print analysis, which was Hanssen reading a George Patton quote about, and this is verbatim, the purple pissing Japanese, which caused someone to recognize his voice. Insane,
he does mention pissing purple. He actually says that line in the movie, even when he threatens Eric like going in his office the first time. So I can see that.
Yeah. So because he wants to like get his last hurrah, he walks to the drop site.
We get the worst thing that you can imagine, and I read it in the perfect Roz voice. We get a black title card that just says a date and time, and I was like, holy shit.
Yes.
That's never a good fucking sign.
And one thing I like is that the thing that it shows is the gun guys get to have their fun, right?
They do.
Albeit that he has been outplayed by the intelligence side. When he gets back to his car, it's the guys who like to jump out of black SUVs and point guns at people who get to make the arrest.
There's a number of really good parts about this. The first is all of the shots of him doing the final dead drop are handheld. So it really gives you the impression. The rest of it has all been like fucking dollies, tripods, all very, very steady, all of them doing this is handheld. So it's like, it gives you the impression that he is being watched. It's beautiful.
Real nice.
There is no one else around. Like, no cars pass. There's like a dog barking and it gets his attention because it's the only sound.
Yes.
And the other thing that I really like is after they arrest him, they drive off in like 3 different cars. Someone takes his car and they are gone off that street like nothing has happened. The whole thing is like, it cleans up after itself.
Yeah,
it's very, very efficient.
Yeah, they all jump out of the van at him. They've all got guns, and he just like, all he says is twice. He goes, "Guns won't be necessary." He like puts his arms behind his back. He's ready to be arrested, and as they're arresting him, he very quietly, too quietly for me to get as a drop, but he just goes, "So this is how it goes." And it's such a like, he knew this would happen. Like, he was ready for this, and he accepts it immediately.
Yeah,
it's fun as well because he says when they put him in the car and drive him away, like, his boss, the guy who's in charge of the investigation, is just like, "What the fuck, man?" And he just says, "Maybe now you'll listen." Which it was just like,
he goes, "Sad day for us all."
I have one big criticism of this movie, which is end the film here.
Yeah, they should have ended it on that line.
It's at like an hour and 20 minutes. That's short but
movie.
Sweet. That's good. That's a tight movie. Instead, what they do is another half hour. They do the bit where they don't have confidence in what they're saying, and so he gets to sit in the back of the car and he says,
"This is really weak." Yeah,
it's a shame.
I think it was ego.
Everybody trying to guess the identity of a mole, and all the while, it's you they're after. You they're looking for.
Mogus.
Like this, the thing about this line, I'm gonna brush right over that. The thing about this line is that, like, we know this. We have already, like, this has been said to us loud and clear by the movie thus far, but they just find it necessary to again have him do his fucking like villain speech as he's being arrested, and it's
like they always say, show and tell.
I don't know whether this was a reshoot or if it was in there from the start, but it feels like a reshoot. It feels like something that was added on because people were like, "I don't get it." But it kind of undercuts what we've been seeing so far. Anyway, they take him in, and then Paedo John goes home to his wife, and it's all fine, I guess.
Yeah, Juliana, not a character, basically just exists to show Bertolus is taking on Eric. He goes home and is just like, immediately walks in the door, just walks up to her, gives her a hug and a kiss, and she just fully accepts that it's fine again.
Yeah,
and I'm like,
he's like,
why would they're
marital tension over now. But so he goes back to the back to the now being dismantled trap office where he meets Kate. And we finally get to put a hat on all of those, like, is it worth it? The way of the FBI samurai sort of themes.
She's like, congratulations, Agent Paedo John.
You've completed your SVQ.
And the answer to is it worth it is no.
No,
it's not.
It's like, well done, you finished your Duke of Edinburgh FBI award. And he's like, fuck you, I'm resigning, I'm going to be a lawyer. Which he did.
He quits for Juliana. Because the line from his handler is like, she'll get used to it eventually. And he goes, I don't know if I want her to. Which is nice. Something she expressed right at the very start, which is nice.
He finally listens. He takes him an hour and 49 minutes to listen to his wife. And then we really, really have to have another scene that outstays its welcome, which is
too much.
On the way out, by pure coincidence, he bumps into an arrested Hanssen in the lift.
Contriving shit.
This is enabled. This is like in order to enable a shot of Chris Cooper crying, which is nice. And he just goes, pray for me, because he's a Catholic and also a giant hypocrite. Now, that ends the movie. But...
And Ryan Phillippe says, going down! Studio laughter.
I do. Before we...
He brings out an air horn and goes...
But before we get into what this says about masculinity, I do want to talk about how much this movie is a whitewash of the FBI.
Really?
Because one of the things that they say about Robert Hanssen in this movie is that he's
the best computer guy we've got.
Now, I concede that in 2000, being the best computer guy might not have been too difficult, but
seems like it was very easy.
Some of the things that Robert Hanssen did with his computers included hacking into another agent's computer, printing out a classified document, and then handing it to him to go, see, I just broke into your computer.
No, sorry, that rules.
He wants.
That's fucking hilarious. That's so
posting.
Sick.
He wants.
This you.
He's a man out of time in two directions. He would have been such a good poster.
He once broke his own office computer installing password cracking software on it, and when confronted by the FBI's computer team about this, said that he needed to do it in order to hook a color printer up to his computer, which they believed.
Dude's rock.
He was apparently constantly...
They have 300 guys trying to catch this man.
Yes, yeah. He constantly searched his own name in FBI databases to see what they had on him.
That's a really nice little character
Google
moment.
Your own name.
And no one noticed that he did that. He was reported to the FBI months before the start of the first investigation by his brother-in-law, who was also an FBI agent because he was spending a suspicious amount of money. And this also gets to the heart of what I think it gets wrong about Hanssen, which is, yes, Hanssen was motivated by ego, but part of the reason why spies don't talk about mice anymore is because it's very determinative, and it makes you want to put someone in one of four boxes. And he was paid millions of dollars in cash, in bonds, in diamonds, for all of his work. And at every turn, often cartoonishly irresponsible, he stopped giving information to the Soviets when the Soviet Union collapsed. And in order to make that introduction again, he went to a Soviet spy at the US Embassy and said, I am an FBI agent. This was my code name. I'm standing in like daylight so you can see my face. I want to give you information again. And the Russians were so convinced that this was a trap that they reported it to the FBI, and they gave them a description of the guy who had introduced himself by codename as an FBI agent.
Sick move by the Russians to be like, all right, we'll fucking test you out, yeah.
This guy's a fucking freak.
and the FBI did not notice. What the FBI did do was surveil for a year a CIA agent called Brian Kelly. And the reason why they had decided Brian Kelly was the mole was because they had brought the FBI's behavioral analysis unit in to build a psychological profile of the mole, which was nonsense.
And why don't you use the identigraph?
They spied on him for a year. They interviewed his family, they interviewed his friends, they interviewed his neighbors, and then as a final gambit to try and flush him out, they sent an FBI counterintelligence agent to his door with a what records only describe as a foreign accent to go.
Hello, monsieur.
Your cover
like to do
is
some spying for me, please?
Russian, I assume. I assume they're like, hello.
Almost certainly.
Worse than that, because he came to the door and went, hello, your cover is blown. You must go to metro station immediately, where the fucking SWAT team is waiting to arrest him. And instead, he calls the FBI to report it.
What a legend.
The thing that people get wrong.
I want to see a movie about that.
They get called the intelligence services, but what people don't realize is that there was a strong span of about their entire existence where every single intelligence officer was just doing the John Mulaney bit about how like getting away with crimes was really fucking easy back in the day. A pool of blood on the floor and a guy will walk in and be like, ha! Gross, clean that up. Now back to my hunch. Like they would just do this.
Federal Bureau of
missing documents. Hey Bob, do you need any help carrying those documents out of the office?
I want to see like the James Franco Jonah Hill movie about them investigating the wrong guy. That would be so fucking good.
There's also one thing which is not proven, but I do get this from the newspaper of Bob Hanssen's old university, Knox University, which is that when he was melting down, when he started drinking, he went and he confessed to his priest because his wife found out and his wife got him to confess. And the priest went, okay, well, you have to turn yourself into the authorities. Hanssen thought about it for a while, went and confessed again. And the priest goes, well, it's probably fine so long as you give some of the money you're getting to a suitable charity. So some sum of money a month went to the church in order to preserve the fucking seal of the confessional.
No. I love people, man. We're so bad, dude. We suck so fucking much.
Incidentally, the FBI is still paying Hanssen's pension to his wife. So that was part of the plea deal, was that she gets his executive pension, which they don't usually do.
Nice.
The movie also ends with the classic thing that these true story ass movies always end with, which is a fully black screen with like what happened to each character afterwards. And I was like, I don't care. It flashes up, Robert Hanssen busted 50 secret agents, and I was just like, whatever. And then he's like in prison. I'm like, I don't care about spying.
Bunch of guys who like
fucking losers. No one.
Bunch of guys who betray each other, complaining about when the people that they get to betray each other get killed by other people that they've tried to betray each other for.
It's bullshit. It's like this exact fucking situation reversed would be like, damn, this guy's a hero. It's like, fucking shut up, dude. Spying is for pussies who can't get pussy, basically. Present company excluded, of course.
The caption comes up, Paedo John later became known as homophobic John and John the rapist.
That's right.
Paedo John's girlfriend went on to date someone of an appropriate age. Dickskin, I think, became a farmer. I think Elliot and Strudels both became doctors. Tiff is a writer now. I don't know what
Abigail
Spenlad
Thorne is the host of
Kill James Bond. I don't know what Spenlad is doing, but we have a science-based system on this podcast.
We do.
SMARM, cultural insensitivity, unprovoked violence, misogyny.
The mice system.
That's right.
Can I get Senator Armstrong saying mice? Do you have that? I really want to hear it.
I do have mice. It'll just be a second while I scroll all of the way down.
Wouldn't worry, I'll cut it.
Just edit this back in when I said it too.
Mice.
Beautiful.
Yeah, the mice system.
Yeah, I'll cut that back in earlier when you're talking about mice.
So how much? I feel like this movie is like negative SMARM.
Well, I think I might want to maybe take a broader view of SMARM and say SMARM is when the movie is like jacking itself off.
That's true.
It's no longer just like James Bond being smarmy. The characters aren't very smarmy, but the movie does kind of jack itself off a little bit.
About America,
but also like that extra scene the fact that it keeps like telling us things it's already shown us. I'm like, no, I think maybe like a 2 or a 3.
If we're putting it that way, I think it could go to a 3. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can see that. Absolutely.
Cool.
Cultural insensitivity. I mean, literally shaking your head to show that you don't agree with it is.
It's so funny.
That's quite funny, yeah.
You'd be funny than me. Yeah, I mean, would you say that that's a culture?
I would say
no.
I would say that it's being perhaps insensitive to tradcaths. I just don't care.
Yeah.
I don't think it's being unfair.
I think I kind of want to give it 1 point for the fact that we are introduced to Eric surveilling a Muslim family for like seemingly no reason, and this is never criticized.
Yeah,
this isn't shown as like a bad thing.
And the line, of course, that is like, are these terrorists their targets right at the very start?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we get like all of the things where Hanssen says something racist and the movie makes a little frowny face. But whenever O'Neill is like racist, also it's like thumbs up.
Yeah, it flashes up in like big letters on the screen. This is bad. And Neil does it. Like, this
also
is okay.
the sort of like the diverse FBI as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
not sure.
How about a 2?
I'll go 2 certainly.
All right,
sure.
Unprovoked violence. I mean,
isn't any.
No, it's none. Unless you count like the sort of remote act of getting someone else killed for selling secrets. It's 0.
Well, the movie doesn't even say that that's good, so fucking whatever. None.
Yeah, 0.
Flat 0. Misogyny. Okay, so
now this is going to be tough because
I'd like to fold all of the isms into misogyny because I think
that's true.
Putting homophobia in cultural insensitivity is a bit weird.
Yeah, the scum system for SMARM, cultural insensitivity, unprovoked violence, and miscellaneous isms.
Yeah.
Sure. Which, yeah, it's got a lot of them.
Sure does.
The homophobia gets a frowny face.
It does. But also the character of his wife, of Paedo John's wife, is just like, she's just wife. That's her character.
Oh yeah, she does not have a character at all.
Yeah,
she gets
sort of like him for like plot reasons only.
She's there basically as like an easy way to tell like how much this is taking a toll on Eric, and like no other reason at all.
That kind of sucks.
Hanssen's wife Bonnie is even less of a character. She's just kind of like she's in it.
It's interesting the way that she's not really portrayed as being one of his victims.
No,
I mean his primary crime is. It's kind of fair enough given it's a spy movie. His primary crime is against America, and we kind of don't really acknowledge that it was a major violation to just like videotape her getting fucked and send that out to people. It's kind of we don't hear what she thinks at the end of the film. She just kind of disappears, which I think is an opportunity lost.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't know if it passes the Bechdel test, really, because he does have two women talk to each other, but they're talking about Jesus, who is a man. So
yes, he was,
doesn't count.
Kate is an interesting character because I think she's sort of in some ways a prototype for the sort of mold that we'll see later in Zero Dark 30 of
I don't know.
We're gonna have to.
I know
it's
we
very
will.
Important. It's of the sort of girl boss CIA agent. And like I don't know, we have this sort of moment where we talk like the costs of being an FBI agent are only ever explained to us through her. We don't get to see what fucking Dennis Haysbert's wife thinks about all of this shit. We only get to see her apartment with no cat.
Yeah, and it's specifically the cost of being an FBI agent in her case is that she doesn't have like a man or a relationship or like even a cat or any children. It's very much a kind of like this will in somehow like spoil your femininity. I don't think that's like intended by the film, but it's unfortunate that, as you say, Alice, she's the only character who we really see the cost through.
Yeah, for sure. And it's and like she has this sort of line towards the end where she's like, most FBI agents are married. We're not all like this. But it really that feels like sort of like a fig leaf.
Yeah, it does.
It's a not a great decision to use her for this specifically, I think. So misogyny and miscellaneous isms, now with 2 M's, I guess. What do we think? We think like 4?
Scum.
Maybe?
I was thinking 4, yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Happy with that?
It's higher than we've been in a minute, to be honest. I think we've only gone like 2 or 3 for misogyny lately.
Well, because it has a 0 on unprovoked violence, which is very strong, that gives it a total of 9, which is the same as Syriana, and pretty darn low compared to what we've got. Still, the best film we've ever seen was The Bourne Identity on 6.
Yes, I don't know if you've read that into the record, because we didn't do Scum for that. We did
no.
shit.
Yeah, we did. But the best one ever was The Bourne Identity. And the best Bond film ever was View to a Kill with Roger Moore.
That's right.
So this film, not quite as good as Roger Moore, but nevertheless very good.
It's getting there. If only they had Roger Moore as Robert Hanssen in this.
I would have loved to see that.
We need to watch more Roger Moore films, actually. This is the only guy we've not watched. We stopped doing it. We need to watch more films that are just like connected via Bond actor.
I see you, I hear you, and we will be going back for more old Connery.
Yeah, we're going to do Folks. My pick is next after the bonus, and I would like Abby to be able to talk shit about actors again, so I'm bringing us right back to the 70s to talk about 3 Days of the Condor.
Ooh,
I don't think I know that one.
Excellent. Okay, fantastic. Well, thank you for subscribing if you do. If you don't, do. And we will see you on the next episode. Thank you for listening.
Wow. Thank you for listening to yet another episode of Kill James Bond. Sorry this one wasn't funny, and also sorry that I was so off-kilter at the start, but I did gain my mojo back by the end. Of course, next week's bonus episode will be OSS 77, the one in Rio. I haven't got the title with me right now, and I know it's in French. So for new listeners, you will finally know what the fuck we are talking about when we frequently reference OSS 77. And we have the wonderful Maddie Lubchansky on that episode. And that will, of course, be available for free, as this is June, as this is Pride, as this is the banquet of forgiveness. But that'll be the last one that you get for free. So, if you are titillated by this weekly content, why not head on over to our Patreon at the start of next month and sign up today to join these wonderful people. Christine Fox, Fawkes Winchester, Paint McCalla, Jack Holmes, George Rohack, Thomas Oberhardt, Yarrick, Carolyn Tankersley. Wait. I think Thomas might have swapped 2 of the letters around in their surname to fuck with me. Either that, or I have been saying this wrong for literally in advance of a year. Whoops. Yarrick, Carolyn Tankersley, Benno Rice, Max Kapinski, Library Hitman, Kit Devine, Amanda Rogda, Max Gaimanhart, Dread Pirate Robin, Jonathan Gerde, Kentucky Fried Commie, Hell Bloodhands, Jay Martindale, Big Titty Goth Girl, Fremen Commissar, Jen, Sydney Steckel, Top O, Trip, Ali Without the E, Mothman, Timothy Bajorni, Saphira Luciferax, Charlie Out of the Closet, Jenna and Poor, Zoe Shepherd, Elizabeth Cox, Finn Ross, Turfs Eat Shit and Die Alone, Alfredo, I make Devon say this out loud, Philippa Smith, Rail Leal, Wolfie, Raised on a Diet, Al Irving, Millie, JM11519, Josh Simmons, Bon LeBon, Lauren Bastin, and Tristram Wolf. Thank you very much. I'm still fucked up over Thomas, I'll be honest with you. I'll be thinking about that for a little while. Regardless, Kill James Bond is, of course, Alice, Abigail, and Devon. Our producer is the wonderful Nate Bethay. Our podcast art is by Maddie Lubchansky, and our website is by Tom Allen. See ya.